back in the 90s and the early 2000s, my uncle used to run a very, very good handyman business here in the UK. He was the sort of guy that could really turn his hand to anything. He could do plumbing, he could do tiling, he could fit carpets, windows, doors, just about anything. Build garden walls, fencing, everything you can imagine. And I know that back then he used to earn £100 per day. And now, using that as a benchmark, let's find out just what you would need to be earning today to be on the same type of lifestyle. So let me just go into a little bit about what sort of lifestyle it is that he had. So he had, he had a normal car, he had a van, he had a Land Rover and a caravan and a nice big house, nice big garden, would go away on holidays all over the world. And he lived a very good life as a tradesman back in the 90s and the early 2000s. What is it like today? So to work this out, we're going to be looking here on Google, and we can see that the average wage has increased in the UK since 2001 by 3.3%. Now, I've checked lots of different charts and found that is absolutely the case. It is about 3.3% per year. So if we take minimum wage back in the year 2000, I think I was working in McDonald's at the start of that year, and I was on, would have been about 360 an hour. In fact, I was on the lower, I was on 320 because I wasn't quite old enough to be on 360, but it was 360 for over 22s. So if my uncle back then was going to hire someone to just sort of hold the bag of spanners, carry some wood, maybe a couple of bags of cement, that type of stuff, you're going to have to pay on the national minimum wage. And that is obviously the same today. Back then it was £28 and he was charging £100 for his own wage. So this column here, this is the average wage increase. So if you were back then earning in a standard job £28.80 per day as sort of an average salary, and as you scroll down making 3.3% extra per year, that puts you on £62.78 today. So the average middle class earner who's maybe on a salary would have seen about 3.3% per year. However, this is the problem. The lower end of the scale, the bottom workers, the guys that just push the trolleys around the Asda car park, the minimum wage jobs, they have increased significantly over the same time. And for a minimum wage job, it's actually 91.52. So it's just gone up to 11.44 an hour right now in the UK. So again, starting there on the minimum wage, it was absolutely the same back in 2000. But now the national minimum wage is absolutely extortionate. Now, according to Check a Trade, the average wage for a handyman in the UK is currently £200 a day, or as it says here, £200 for 8 hours. So like a full working day, £200. You can see down here, minor electrical work like an hour. Basically, this is a minimum call out charge of £60. And then maybe like do some painting for 3 to 5 hours, like a little half day job, 95. And then, a full day's work, 200. So if you're currently not earning £200 per day as a handyman in the UK, I strongly suggest you put your prices up, because what you're about to see is going to be quite shocking. So this is the handyman and how that would have gone. So my uncle, £100 per day, that was his daily rate. And this would be his rate if he was going up at 3.3% per year. And over here in this column, we have the multiple above national minimum wage. So of course, if you're pricing up jobs and you need to hire in a couple of staff, you need to charge the customer, for the daily rate of the people that you're hiring. And bearing in mind, obviously, you're going to have business costs. You need to hire a van or buy a van. You need to buy tools. You need all the other expenses, accounting, etc., that goes with running a business. So it's not cheap. And of course, all the taxes as well. So there's a lot more taxes when you're running a company. Now, back then, my uncle would have been on £100, which was 347% of the national minimum wage, which means you could hire, say, 3.5 workers for that £100 on minimum wage. However, as you go down through the years, you can see that with this 3.3% increase, we have what would be today £217, which is, of course, very, very similar here to the £200 for the daily rate, which is why I say if you're not currently on £200 a day as a handyman in the UK, you're making a big mistake. You need to up your daily rates, because on that £217 per day as a daily rate, you could only now hire 2 members of staff. If national minimum wage is going up that much, also, fuel has also been going up a lot. So you need to travel a lot as a handyman. So you're going to be paying out a lot more in travel costs. And of course, tools, when you go to Screwfix, and screws, my goodness, they've gone up a fortune as well. Everything is getting more and more expensive. And that means your rates also need to get a lot more expensive. And now here is the meat of it all, what you really need to know. So what should you really be paying out if you want to be getting the same quality of life and pension and everything that you would have got as a handyman back in the 90s and the early 2000s? If you're going to earn enough to have that quality of life now today, how much do you need to earn? That would be £320 per day. That is what you need to be charging to get the same quality of life as handymen would have got back then in the 90s. So you can see there, this is 347% of the national minimum wage, and that at today's rates of £11.44 an hour is £320 per day. So if you are a handyman yourself, please do let me know in the comments down below just what your rates are like, if you're charging more or less than that £200. And also, if you want to see an example of just how low people are willing to go on their rates, check out this video over here where I show just how bad the situation is in the UK. And my goodness, guys, it is getting desperate out there. Do watch that, and I'll see you again very, very soon.